Imagine a world where empires rise and fall like waves, where a single woman stands between her kingdom and annihilation. This is not a myth. This is the story of Cleopatra VI, a queen who defied Rome, mastered politics, and rewrote her destiny. Yet 2,000 years later, we've reduced her to a tragic love story. Today, we uncover the real Cleopatra, scholar, strategist, and Egypt's last pharaoh. Born in 69 BCE, Cleopatra entered a world of chaos. Her family, the Ptolemies, were Greeks ruling Egypt, foreigners clinging to power. By 18, she was thrust onto the throne alongside her 10-year-old brother, Ptolemy XIII. But this was no fairy tale. The Ptolemies married siblings to keep power and murdered them to keep it longer. Cleopatra refused to play the pawn. She learned 9 languages, studied philosophy, and charmed her subjects by becoming more Egyptian than the Egyptians. While her family mocked local customs, she worshipped Isis, spoke the native tongue, and dressed as a pharaoh. Yet her brother's advisors saw her as a threat. By 48 BCE, they exiled her, leaving her to die in the desert. But Cleopatra wasn't done. With a handful of mercenaries, she plotted her return. And when Julius Caesar, Rome's most feared general, arrived in Alexandria, she saw her chance. Legend said she smuggled herself into his palace, rolled inside a carpet. When unrolled, she didn't beg. She negotiated. By dawn, Caesar was hers. By sunrise, Egypt was too. Cleopatra knew Rome's support was key to survival. But this was no romance. It was a calculated alliance. When Caesar was assassinated in 44 BCE, she didn't weep. She recalculated. Enter Mark Antony, Rome's new strongman. In 41 BCE, he summoned her to explain her loyalty. She arrived on a golden barge, dressed as Venus, the goddess of love. Antony, a man who adored spectacle, was enthralled. But Cleopatra wasn't just dazzling him. She was testing him. Could he match her wit, her vision? For a decade, they ruled the Mediterranean as partners. Antony gave her territories. She funded his wars. Together, they dreamed of an empire stretching from Athens to the Euphrates. But Rome feared her. Senators mocked Antony as Egypt's puppet, and Octavian, Caesar's heir, painted Cleopatra as a sorceress hell-bent on destroying Rome. The truth: Cleopatra was buying time. She rebuilt Egypt's economy, stabilized the Nile's harvests, and even tried creating a universal calendar. Every move was to shield her people from Rome's hunger. But in 31 BCE, Octavian declared war, not on Egypt, but on her. At the Battle of Actium, Cleopatra and Antony's fleet faced annihilation. Defeated, they fled to Alexandria, their dream in ruins. Octavian's army closed in. Antony, believing Cleopatra dead, fell on his sword. When she found him dying, she ordered his body brought to her mausoleum. Then she did what no conqueror could. She chose her own end. History claims she died by snakebite, a symbol of divine royalty. But recent studies suggest poison. Either way, her death was deliberate. Octavian wanted to parade her through Rome as a trophy. She denied him that victory. With her death, Egypt became a Roman province, and an era died with her. Why does her story still haunt us? Because Cleopatra was erased by her enemies. Roman poets painted her as a temptress. Hollywood reduced her to a femme fatale. But fragments of truth remain. Coins showing her sharp nose and commanding gaze, scrolls praising her intellect, and the silent defiance of a queen who refused to kneel. She wasn't just Caesar's lover or Antony's muse. She was a polyglot, a mathematician, and the only Ptolemy who cared to learn Egyptian. In a world where women were footnotes, she wrote history. Cleopatra's kingdom is long gone, but her lesson endures. History is written by the victors, but rewritten by the curious. So the next time someone calls her just a seductress, remember, she ruled alone in a man's world, outsmarted empires, and died on her terms. What's more powerful than that? If you've made it this far, you're one of the curious. Smash that like button if you learned something new. Subscribe to uncover more buried histories, and tap the bell so you never miss a story. Want to hear about another misunderstood ruler? Let me know in the comments. And until next time, keep questioning the past.